Thank you so much for joining us today. It's really a pleasure to have you here.
It's a great pleasure. I have never been to Buenos Aires and I am really want to come one day. I really do. So I'm very, very happy to speak with you.
You're a singer, songwriter, and
Hmm.
pianist known for
Yes.
blending jazz, blues, and a strong theatrical presence on stage. And now you're about to release a new album.
I am.
You have
And
a new single out, That's Why I Love My Baby, which is the first preview of this album, of this upcoming record. So I'd love to start there. Why did
sure.
you choose this song to introduce the new album?
Because the new album is about I live in here in New Orleans where I'm speaking from to you. And I think that this whole album is about finding joy in the face of problems of adversity. We call it adversity. So it's like the harder life is, the harder the world is, the harder things around us are, the more important it is to find joy. And so this first song, That's Why I Love My Baby, is it's for my husband. It's a very humorous song about how you choose, the person, you have to love the person for everything, good and bad. That's rather than like, you want to change people, you think, okay, I don't like this and I can change them. But no, no, no. You have to accept people for absolutely who they are. And my husband is not romantic. He's not a romantic person. And so every Valentine's Day, I would cry and be dramatic because he didn't mean anything to him, because he believes that you should be loving and kind and wonderful to your partner every day of the year. He's right. So I had to accept that that's who he is, and I chose him. So it is very much that kind of "you're perfect, now change" thing that people do, especially women. And but it's funny, it's full of life and love. It's a love letter to him, but it's also a love letter to this city, because I made a music video, which is also, you can see me and New Orleans during Mardi Gras. And you can see it on my YouTube channel, because this city knows all about finding joy at the hardest of times. That's what New Orleans is. It's about constantly finding joy when your heart is breaking and when the world is cruel. So it's very much about, that's the theme of the album and about where I live.
That's a very liberating and powerful idea in these times. The the song, I think the song challenges some common ideas about love we
Yes.
have in these times.
Yes, and love and romance. And I think the point being that romance is very important. You're in the world, the land of tango. You know how important romance is and passion is. But also it doesn't mean anything when it's something that you think you do one day a year because somebody tells you to do it. We should be like this all the year round. We should show our love uh, um, all year, our
Speaking
lives with
about
each other. Yeah, yeah.
speaking about tango, do you like tango? Have you
Love tango.
listened to tango?
I am a Piazzolla fan. I am so in love. I get chills thinking
That's
about it.
great.
I
Yes.
love Piazzolla and I love tango and I'm a dancer. And so to me, that's one of the reasons I want to come to Buenos Aires. Uh, because it's the world that I love musically, but also dance wise. I would love to see this in its home. So that's why one day.
And Judith, I like to ask you about the genre you work in, jazz,
Yeah.
because jazz has a long history, but it's still changing and evolving. So, what still attracts you to jazz today?
What you just said is very important. Jazz is not just one thing. Jazz is, you know, you can say that tango, you can say that what Piazzolla was doing, you can say that music, that is a form of jazz. Um, jazz is improvisation, but jazz is born here in New Orleans, as we know, but I love blues-based jazz. I love jazz that mixes many genres because I am a singer-songwriter. I'm a very classical musician too. That's where I started. I think that jazz is about improvising and releasing, that's what it's basically is about, having a conversation with the other musicians on stage with you. It's about exploration. It's about being free. It's about taking risks and not being held down to just what's on a page. And I love that. I love that because I think it brings out magic, absolute magic. So I don't see jazz as being a something from back 70 years back. I don't see it as being an old style, an old art form that we just keep playing. I see it as being forever reinventing, because being fresh with all the new and wonderful players. Then you come across a band like Snarky Puppy who take it to a different place altogether again. And to see young people becoming excited about it. In New Orleans, there is music happening, as I'm sure in Buenos Aires, there's music happening every night, every day of the week, constantly. And it is jazz, it's blues, it's classical, it's flamenco, it's whatever you want, it's everything. But there is a real appreciation that this is the language of this city. Music is the language, music and food, of course. But it's that's what people come here to do. And it's a very rare place. There's not many places in the world like that anymore, where it's just this is where you come to find your musical voice and to find your musical freedom. And so I think that I have always been very inspired by jazz because I grew up with a very classical opera singer father who loved jazz and blues and everything actually. So I never saw, I didn't live in a world where you could only like one thing. I lived in a world where you enjoyed everything depending on the mood you were in, how you felt, what you needed.
And can
That's
you
it.
tell me a little bit more about how was growing up in a family of musicians?
Yeah, it was very special, but I didn't realize that until I was an adult. Because when you're a kid, you just think this is normal. Since I was 5, we're from Wales, so I'm a Celt. This is where my heart and my voice comes from, for sure. And we moved to London, and my dad joined the company at Royal Opera House, Covent Garden, and he sang all over the world, La Scala, Milan, everywhere. And so every weekend, usually every weekend, I would be in the opera house watching rehearsals from age 5. So this is a very unique, I think, very privileged childhood that I didn't realize how special it was. And I'd be, hanging out with singers and orchestra and ballet dancers. It was incredible. It was incredible. And then at home, we'd go home and we'd be listening to Ella Fitzgerald or Frank Sinatra, or Duke Ellington, or any of Aretha Franklin, this is music as language, different dialects, but it's our language. So there were no boundaries, there were no walls. Very unusual for a classical musician to be that open, because normally it's very rigid, blinkered. People stick to one thing, but not in my home. And so I get very excited when I see other people with the same mentality, like John Baptiste, he just won a Grammy for Americana. It's like
Mhm.
you do you do whatever and feel, and as long as you do it well and with your entire body and your heart, that's what music is
And
about.
you just mentioned your influences, some of your influences. I'd like
Yeah.
to know about the female jazz singers that you celebrate during your career.
Yeah.
Blossom Deep, Julia Lee, Nellie Latcher.
Yeah.
What first inspired you to explore their music?
My father. My father, when he was a boy, he discovered these singers who were piano playing singers, really powerful women at the piano. They didn't care if you liked them or hated them. They didn't care. They were unapologetically themselves, and they were
Mhm.
powerful and great performers, great entertainers, and really with a style of their own. So Nellie Lutcher, Julia Lee, yes, and then the woman that came from that, Nina Simone, Aretha Franklin. These are
Of course.
powerful women that started with the piano, and it's a really amazing legacy. Blossom Dearie came from that same place, of course. She's a Many people don't know who she is at all, and then you have the classic jazzers, the Ella Fitzgeralds. You have these Sarah Vaughan. You have these amazing singers. I fell in love with women like Nellie Lutcher and Julia Lee who have been forgotten because they did things their way. They did things their own way. And that meant that
And
they didn't fit in. They didn't fit into the business, but they were really amazing artists, amazing women.
And speaking about performing, you have a very theatrical presence
Yeah.
on stage. How is to perform jazz on stage? Did that performer side come naturally to you, or did you develop it over time?
Well, it turns out that, funnily enough, when you grow up with an artist as a parent, you either do the same thing, or it often is the case that you follow in the same footsteps, or you try not to. And I didn't want to. Music was my private love. Writing songs at the piano, playing music, that was just something I did in private. I wanted to be an actress. That was my dream, was to be an actress, and to be as it turned out, I love dance. My mother was a great dancer. So I wanted to dance and, but to move, to be that person who was animated, very animated. So, but of course, it turns out that that's exactly what I'm doing. That's what I am doing. I am the musician. Fine, I am the musician. I could never hide too long from it. I couldn't hide it. It's the love of my life. Music is the love of my life. But acting is so important. Dance is so important. And I always wanted to be a great entertainer, a really fine performer, but an entertainer who when you see people who own the stage, who just take the audience and just grab you and just hold you for the entire performance. It's To me, that is a very, very special thing. Probably again before I grew up, because I grew up watching this big art form. I grew up watching opera, and it's like that intensity, that passion, that emotion. And I just love to. I love to entertain the audience. I love to have a conversation, and that's what it is. It's having a conversation with the audience. The audience are very, very important in live performance. I don't have any respect for artists who don't think the audience is an important part of it. They are, because for me anyway, I'm having a conversation with you. And what I put out, I feel coming back. It comes right back. And that's it's a very, very intimate and wonderful thing to get to do. But my job is to entertain you. That's it.
That's a lovely idea about entertaining
Yeah.
and conversating with the audience. I'd like to ask you something a bit more imaginative. If you could invite one of those pioneers to sing with you on stage tonight, let's imagine tonight, who will you choose and what song will you sing together?
Oh my. It's oh gosh, that would be there's so many of them, but I saw Nellie Lutcher before she died as an 80-year-old woman. Uh
Wow.
yeah, still fantastic. Extraordinary. Um Completely forgotten, singing to a half full or empty room. sounding like she was 20 years old. It was extraordinary. I would have loved to have sat down and played music with her. But the nicest thing for me that's happened is that I've got to know her family. I've got to know her daughter-in-law and her granddaughter. And I didn't know this, but they were both in the same room. We were all watching her in one of her last performances in Los Angeles. And I have now become friends with them, and they have shared so many stories with me about her and given me so much of this wonderful woman because they were so happy and thrilled that I was bringing attention back to this fabulous artist who nobody knows. And last year I went and played in San Francisco Jazz, and they came because they live there, and they brought me Nellie Lutcher's mink fur coat. Now I know it's a terrible thing. We don't, nobody wants to be wearing fur anymore. I know, I get it. But this is from 1947, and it was perfect, floor length coat. I was so moved. I wore it for the whole show. I just wore it because I just threw it over my shoulders. It was just like I was having Nellie there. When she went to England, she was a huge star. When she went and played in London, she was a huge star. And she decided that she deserved a mink coat, a fur coat. And so she had that coat made. And now I have Nellie's coat and a tiny,
I will
tiny,
have loved to see
yeah,
that live.
piece of that joy. There's so many women I would have loved to have met, but luckily, who I've got to see. I got to see Aretha Franklin singing Nessun Dorma, which was just extraordinary. She did it as if it was a uh, gospel song. It was the most extraordinary thing. I got to see her a few times. I'm very fortunate because being here in New Orleans, I got to see people like before they went singing here, and it's when I think about it, I'm so grateful that I got to see some of my idols. I'm very, very fortunate that I got to see Blossom Dearie again in her 80s, like as close as this computer is to my face. I was sitting there watching her, and that means a lot to me. That means they opened the door. I saw Nina Simone, same thing. They opened the doors for us. They opened the doors for women like me, and I hate to think that they would ever be forgotten. And of course, Ella Fitzgerald, Nina, Aretha, they won't be forgotten. But women like Julia
But I think
Lee,
they will
yeah,
live in your music.
yeah,
And
they do. And I'm forever grateful because as a little girl, when I heard those women play, when I heard Nellie and Julia, I heard the fun, the joy, the life force, the power, and it made me want to be like that. That's who I wanted
and
to be. I didn't want to be like some, sort of like shy, quiet, because I wasn't. That's who I came in as a strong person. It made me
there's
realize,
definitely something very powerful about your
yeah,
music.
and
So yes.
it's sort of like, so I heard them and I thought, that's who I relate to. That's that's who I want to be. Yeah.
And finally, Judith, before we go, one last question. Many
Yeah.
people in Latin America are discovering your music right now. So, what would you like audiences here and around the world to discover your music?
Oh man, I really hope it bring. I hope my music, and particularly this record, this album, that's coming up. I really hope it brings them great joy and passion and emotion, and makes them feel. And some of the songs will make you want to dance around the room. Some songs will make you just sit down with a glass of wine and just let it wash over you. But it is all about, like I said, I believe in big emotions, and that's who I am, and I do hope that this will connect with people, and make them feel like I'm talking to you, that we're sharing these experiences. That's really it. We share in this. So I'm about communicating and sharing with my listeners, because ultimately, I hope, like I said, one of the few places that I haven't played is South America, which it makes me very sad. But I know that I have great appreciation and understanding and love from South America, because you understand what I do, how I do it, and what I'm saying. You understand.
We'll be waiting for you with open arms in
With
Latin
your passionate
America,
hearts. Yes, absolutely. I go back to Piazzolla. I'm actually doing
in
a very
Buenos
class.
Aires. Yes.
Exactly. I've written a very classical project, and there is very Piazzolla-like accordion in
Ah,
it.
okay.
Oh yeah.
So we are
Oh
really looking
yes.
forward to the new album, to see that, to listen
Listen,
to that
you know what
Piazzolla.
would make me happy is coming to coming to Argentina, coming to Buenos Aires, and having an accordion guesting artist that would come in and play, because to me that would be perfection. Perfection.
Thank you so much for your time, Judith. It was a
Thank
real pleasure
you, Jessica. You've
talking
been
with
lovely.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Gracias.